After a night with a seemingly perfect guy, she found out he was her new boss and married. I've always been the woman who follows the rules, the one who says no, the one who calculates every step before she dares to leap, the one who leaves before anyone can glimpse her vulnerability. But that night I broke every law I had ever written for myself. I didn't want to be there. My friend had practically dragged me to the most upscale bar in the city, insisting I needed to have some fun. The place was buzzing with loud laughter, clinking glasses, and background music that refused to stay in the background. I felt out of place, as always. And then I saw him. Leaning against the bar, white shirt sleeves rolled up, jacket draped over the chair beside him. He wasn't just handsome. He had that kind of presence that fills a room. The kind of man who seems at ease anywhere he goes. The kind of man who makes people look without even trying. I looked away, of course, but when I glanced back, he was already watching me. And then he smiled. And that smile, that's where everything began. I don't know who made the first move. Maybe it was me, unconsciously, when I ordered the same drink he was having. Maybe it was him when he offered to pay for it. "Only if you promise to laugh at my terrible jokes," he said. "I'm already laughing and I haven't even heard one," I replied, surprised that it was my voice sounding like that. The conversation flowed as if we'd known each other for years. We talked about music, about travel, about the most random things. And he listened, truly listened, as if every word I spoke was a story he'd never heard before. I laughed more that night than I had in months. And then there were the looks. Those heavy, charged silences where nothing needed to be said, because everything was already understood. I don't remember when I decided to leave with him. Maybe it was when he touched my chin and teased me about the way I furrowed my brow when I disagreed. Maybe it was when our knees brushed beneath the table and neither of us pulled away. Maybe it was simply because, for the first time in a long while, I allowed myself to stop thinking about tomorrow. It was intense. Not just physically, but emotionally. He didn't treat me like a one-night distraction. In that moment, I felt like I was the only thing in the world that mattered. His touch was tender, but laced with a restrained hunger. It felt like we were uncovering something that had always been inevitable. I fell asleep with my head on his chest, listening to the rhythm of his breath, thinking, this couldn't be just a coincidence. In the morning, I got dressed in a rush, ready to disappear like I always did. But he caught my hand. "Give me your number," he said. I hesitated. That wasn't the deal. One night only, no consequences. But there was something in his eyes, something that asked for more than a goodbye. I typed in my number. He smiled, victorious, like he'd just won a quiet battle. I walked away telling myself not to expect anything. But I did. Oh, I did. That same afternoon, the first message arrived. "So, do you always laugh like that when someone messes up their order, or was it just with me?" I smiled to myself, replied. And just like that, it began. In the days that followed, we talked non-stop, every hour, every day. Our messages ranged from silly jokes to confessions I'd never dare to say out loud. We talked about movies, books, childhood fears. Never about work, never about family. It was as if we had a silent agreement. Keep the magic untouched. I'd fall asleep laughing at something he said. I'd wake up to my phone vibrating and the quiet certainty that somewhere out there, someone was thinking of me. And that someone was him. It was addictive. A few days later, I got the job offer. A stable contract. The opportunity I'd been waiting for, my chance to start over. I looked down at my phone, at yet another message from him. "If you could run away right now, anywhere in the world, where would you go?" And I told myself, time to put an end to this. It was fun while it lasted, but now it's time to focus on what truly matters. I didn't respond. I left his message unanswered that night. The next morning, I put on my best outfit, took a deep breath, and walked into the first day of my new job. The building was sleek and modern. I was led to a conference room, nerves tightening with every step. I was ready to prove myself. The door opened, and there he was, sitting at the head of the table. The same man who'd made me laugh until sunrise. The same man who had seemed perfect. The world stopped. My heart pounded. But I didn't have time to react, because beside him, elegant, composed, stood a woman. He introduced her with the polished ease of someone rehearsed. "This is the company's vice president, and my wife." My stomach dropped. My legs trembled. In that instant, all the magic turned to poison. The hallway felt longer than it should. Every step echoed against the glass walls, my heart pounding like it was trying to warn me of something I didn't yet understand. I clutched my folder tightly, trying to embody the confident professional I'd always dreamed of being. This was my chance, my fresh start. When the receptionist opened the door to the conference room, I took a deep breath and offered a polite smile. But the smile died before it could fully form. He was there, seated at the head of the table in a flawless suit, exuding the same magnetic presence that had undone me that night at the bar. The man I'd spent a night with, a night that had shifted the axis of my world. The man who made me laugh at 3 a.m. with cryptic texts. The man I had convinced myself was a safe stranger, someone charming but untouchable, harmless to my real life. My heart skipped a beat. He looked at me. His eyes widened for a split second, just long enough to reveal he hadn't expected this either. Then, just as quickly, his face returned to the composed neutrality of an executive used to controlling any situation. Inside, I was screaming. No, not here, not now. But it didn't end there. Before I could fully process what was happening, he stood and, with the calm voice of a man in charge, introduced the woman beside him. Tall, elegant, hair pulled back with perfect precision, eyes like steel. "This is Isadora, the company's vice president, and my wife." The word hit like a punch. Wife. My vision blurred. The air vanished from the room. I forced a smile, a mask for survival. But inside, I was plummeting. Wife. So that was it. While I laughed with him in the middle of the night, there had been a ring, an invisible vow. While I thought I was living something new, I was nothing more than a married man's distraction. I sat in silence as the meeting carried on. He spoke about goals, strategies, performance metrics. His voice was firm, steady. But all I could hear was one word, over and over. Wife, wife, wife. Every time our eyes met, it looked like he wanted to say something, anything, but he couldn't. I looked away, pretending to take notes. My chest tightened with a mix of anger, shame, and disappointment. When the meeting ended, I locked myself in the bathroom, stared into the mirror, and barely recognized the face looking back. It's time to end this little game. It was fun while it lasted, but now I need to focus on what really matters. I whispered it like a mantra, as if saying it out loud could make it true. I turned off my phone screen like I was burying the ghosts of our messages once and for all, but when I stepped out of the bathroom, he was there, standing in the hallway, waiting. "Camilla?" The sound of my own breathing became too loud. "Mr. Duarte," I corrected coldly. "That's how I should address you here, isn't it?" He closed his eyes for a moment, as if my formality had cut him like a blade. "I didn't know. It would be you. And I didn't know you had a wife." My voice trembled, but I didn't flinch. "So I guess we're even." I walked past him without looking back, but I could feel it, his eyes burning into me, heavy and unrelenting. And deep down, no matter how much I wanted to deny it, I knew that wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of something far more dangerous. In the days that followed, I braced myself for everything. Furtive glances, secret messages, risky invitations. But none of it came. He didn't reach out, didn't write, didn't say a word. His eyes, though, they followed me. In meetings, I could feel them cutting across the room, landing on me with weight and silence. But whenever I looked back, he turned away. It was as if we had made a silent pact to bury that night, to pretend it had never happened. But fate wasn't finished with me, because it wasn't him who approached me first. It was her. Camilla, right? Isadora's voice caught me off guard as I was leaving the office, firm but polite. You've got talent. I saw your notes during the last meeting. I'd like you to be part of a pilot project we're developing. My stomach turned. His wife wanted to work with me. Of course, Mrs. Duarte, I replied, swallowing the tension. She smiled. It wasn't fake. It wasn't the arrogant posture I'd expected. It was kind. We started working together. Long hours in silent meeting rooms, spreadsheets open, sketches scribbled across pages. I dreaded every second, afraid she'd somehow read the secret written in my eyes, but Isadora seemed to genuinely enjoy my company. You're dedicated, she said one night, as we were the last two left in the building. It's rare to find people like that. There was honesty in her voice, and that only made me more uncomfortable. Little by little, those late nights turned into more than just reports. We talked about movies, books, ambitions. She never mentioned her husband. It was as if he didn't exist in her life, but sometimes she'd ask questions that made my blood run cold. So, Camilla, anyone waiting for you at home? She asked one night, resting her chin in her hands, almost casually. My heart jumped. I thought of him, of the messages that no longer came, of his silence. No, no one, I replied, too quickly. She raised an eyebrow, amused. A woman like you? I find that hard to believe. I forced a smile, throat tightening with guilt. Over time, I began to realize that Isadora wasn't the perfect wife I had imagined. She was strong, sharp, but there was also a surprising sweetness to her. She brought coffee for the team, remembered the secretary's name, made sarcastic jokes that pulled nervous laughter out of me. And the more I liked her, the heavier the weight of my secret became. I'd come home exhausted, drop my bag on the couch, and stare at my phone, wondering if he ever thought about me too. But there were no messages. Just silence. Still, I felt him. He passed through the hallways like a ghost, contained, distant, but his eyes betrayed him. When he thought no one noticed, I did. He watched me from afar, like every movement I made was a painful reminder of what he could no longer have, and it ate away at me. One Friday night, Isadora and I stayed late reviewing proposals. It was past 11 when she finally closed the folder and leaned back in her chair, tired. Funny, Camilla, she said, studying me with quiet curiosity. I feel like I knew you before I actually met you. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? I don't know. You seem familiar, like there's some story hiding between us. My whole body went cold. My heart pounded. Before I could answer, the door opened. It was him. His gaze swept over the room, me and Isadora sitting side by side, papers scattered, laughter still hanging in the air. And for a second, the mask slipped. There was no pretending. There was jealousy. And in that instant I realized his silence didn't mean he had forgotten. It meant he was at war with himself. As the weeks passed, my life became a carefully disguised string of discomforts. I arrived early, buried myself in work, avoided eye contact with him at all costs. But some things were impossible to avoid. Their routine. Almost every morning, they arrived together. From the glass windows above, I'd see the black car pulling into the parking lot. He'd get out first, walk around to open the door for her, always. She'd step out, elegant, composed, and he, the picture of a trained gentleman, would straighten her coat, hand her the briefcase, sometimes even hold the umbrella if it was raining. And it shattered me. It wasn't just the gesture. It was the way he looked at her, like it was natural, like that was where he belonged, like she was the one. I kept trying to convince myself I didn't care, that I was just a fleeting distraction, a one-night thing. But every time I saw them side by side, Something ugly twisted in my chest. Jealousy, hurt, shame. He never reached out, never tried to talk. Not one single message after that first day at the company, but that didn't lessen his presence. I felt his eyes from across rooms. I felt his silence louder than words, and that was even worse. Because with every tender gesture he shared with Isadora, I felt myself fading, becoming nothing more than a shadow. A nobody. I started avoiding the elevator during their arrival hours. I stretched my lunch breaks just to avoid seeing them walk to the restaurant together, but it didn't matter. They were everywhere, always side by side, like the perfect couple anyone would envy. And I was alone, watching from a distance, caught in a storm of emotions I had no right to feel. One of those endless nights I stayed late to finish a report. The hallway was quiet, empty, the only sound a distant hum of the air conditioning. I needed his signature to close out the document, and I noticed the light still on in his office. Without thinking, I opened the door and froze. They were both inside, sitting side by side in leather armchairs, laughing at something I hadn't heard. An open bottle of wine sat on the table between them, each with a half-full glass in hand. The scene cut through me like a blade. There was nothing overtly romantic, no kisses, no lingering touches, but that made it worse. It was the quiet intimacy, the shared laughter, the ease of two people who knew each other's secrets. Isadora turned to me, still smiling, and raised her glass like a toast. "Camila, we were just talking about you." My heart sank. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just needed a signature." He looked at me. Just for a moment. But it was enough. It wasn't the distant stare of a boss. It wasn't the gaze of the man from that night. It was something else. Guilt, maybe. Regret. Isadora stood and walked over, graceful, light, as if nothing at all was wrong. "Of course. Give it here. I'll sign it too." I took the document and left in a hurry, my heart pounding in my ears. When the door shut behind me, I could still hear them laughing, muted but clear, and that's when it hit me. While I was stuck reliving memories and drowning in guilt, they were in there laughing, as if they needed no one else in the world. That night at home, I stared at my phone for hours. No messages, no words from him, just silence. And for the first time since I met him, the question pierced through me like a blade. What if I never meant anything to him at all? The weeks at the office had become a tightrope of emotions. On the outside, I played it cool. But inside, I crumbled every time I saw them together. I needed air. I needed to forget. So when my friends invited me out on a Friday night, I said yes. We ended up at the same bar where it had all started, a cruel joke from the universe. The lights were low, music thrumming through the wooden floors, bodies moving in a hypnotic rhythm. I just wanted to shut everything off. So I drank more than I should have, danced longer than I planned. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I thought, maybe I could laugh again, without the weight of everything I was carrying. I was in the middle of the dance floor, laughing with a friend, when it hit me. That feeling. A chill across the skin, the kind that doesn't ask permission. I looked up, and he was there, standing at the edge of the bar, just like that first night, but different. His shoulders were tense, his eyes locked onto mine, unmistakable. It wasn't the look of a boss. It wasn't the distant stare of the polished husband. It was the gaze of the man I met over wine and midnight whispers, and that gaze burned with jealousy. The men around me, the smiles I was receiving, the bodies dancing too close. Every bit of it seemed to ignite something in him. He didn't take his eyes off me. It was as if the world had vanished, and all that remained was an invisible thread pulling me back to him. My heart raced. The beat of the music collided with the rhythm of my pulse. I froze. Standing in the middle of the floor, I took a deep breath and looked straight at him. "What are you doing here?" The question echoed in my mind, but my lips couldn't say it out loud. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, motionless, drink in hand, eyes fixed on me, as if the entire bar was a stage and I was the only one in the spotlight. That look was a silent scream. Jealousy, desire, guilt, all tangled together. And I stood frozen, torn between running away and crossing the room to throw myself back into his arms. Then suddenly he looked away. He dropped his glass on the bar with a sharp motion and walked out. I watched him disappear through the crowd. He never looked back, and when the door shut behind him, it felt like something inside me left with him. Monday came, and the air in the office felt heavier than usual. Maybe it was just the weekend hangover. Maybe it was still the echo of that night at the bar. I couldn't get the image out of my head, the way he looked at me, and then walked away. Like that was it. Like that was the end of our story, but the universe still wasn't done playing games. I was walking through the parking lot when I saw it. Her car, the sleek luxury vehicle gliding into the reserved spot. Nothing unusual. What made me stop was who stepped out of the passenger seat. It wasn't him. It was another man. Younger. Impeccably dressed. But there was a familiarity in the way he opened the door for her. The way he touched her arm, held it just a second too long. They laughed together, a muffled, intimate laugh. Then walked side by side toward the entrance. My heart turned to ice. For a moment I told myself it was a colleague, a relative, someone from work, but it didn't feel professional. It felt close. I took a few steps, trying to shake it off, but the image lingered, her smoothing his lapel with casual ease, him leaning in to hear her better, as if they shared a secret, and suddenly the perfect portrait I had built of them began to crack. What kind of marriage is this? I spent the day dazed, tangled in my own thoughts. He didn't cross my path even once. When I finally saw him in a board meeting later that afternoon, he looked serious, focused, completely indifferent to my presence. She, on the other hand, was her usual self, polite, smiling. She invited me to review some reports after hours. That night, as we sat side by side, surrounded by spreadsheets and coffee cups, she asked with disarming casualness, "Camilla, are you seeing anyone?" My heart jumped. Guilt throbbed like an open wound. I shook my head, trying to sound indifferent. "No, I'm focused on work right now." She smiled, resting her chin in her hand. "Good. Men can be such a distraction when they don't know their place." The words echoed in my mind long after. What place was that exactly? And who was the man who arrived with her that morning? When I left the office that evening, alone, I couldn't shake the strange feeling that I was trapped in a game. A chessboard where all the other pieces moved by rules I didn't yet understand. And for the first time the thought pierced me like lightning. What if their perfect marriage was nothing more than theater? I thought that moment in the parking lot would fade away, swallowed by routine. But I was wrong. 2 days later, there he was. The same impeccably dressed man, now seated at the long oval table in the boardroom beside her. He was introduced as Henrique Duarte, strategic consultant to the executive team. But from the tone of her voice, he seemed like much more than a simple consultant. He spoke with authority, like someone who knew the inner workings of the company better than some of the directors themselves. And more unsettling than that, she listened to him, genuinely, intently. As Henrique presented financial forecasts and expansion plans, her eyes lit up. She laughed at his remarks like they shared a language no one else could understand. My gaze, against my will, searched for his. The CEO. The man who had once kissed me like I was the only woman in the world. He sat there unmoving, too serious. But in his eyes, a tight jaw, a stillness that didn't feel natural. He was watching. Every glance, every smile exchanged between his wife and Henrique. That night I was alone with her again, going over reports Henrique had prepared. His name was on every page, every graph, and she, always enthusiastic, "Henrique is brilliant, Camila. You really should get to know him better." He has such a visionary mind. I forced a smile. Of course, he seems very capable. She tilted her head, studying me. Don't you think? Heat rose to my cheeks. It was a simple question, but it carried something I couldn't quite name. I saw the three of them in the company lobby. Her, the wife, Henrique, the consultant, and him. She stepped out of the elevator arm in arm with Henrique, like there was nothing to hide. The CEO followed a step behind, carrying her briefcase. Expression tight, unreadable. My heart clenched. The scene felt surreal. What kind of marriage is this? The husband, a quiet assistant. The wife, visibly taken by another man. And me, caught in the middle of it all, jealous of everyone. That night, alone at home, I thought about everything. The bar, the kiss, how he'd never tried to touch me again. And now, this Henrique, smiling at her like she belonged to him. A new question formed in my mind. Was I just a disposable piece, or was he also trapped in a much bigger game than I ever imagined? The following week, Henrique was everywhere. Strategy meetings, financial reports, hallway check-ins. He seemed omnipresent. And inevitably, the CEO's wife, always poised, always smiling, made sure to include me. Camila, you and Henrique should collaborate on this project, she said one evening, stepping out of her office. He's got the practical vision. You've got the analytics. Together, you'll be unstoppable. I tried to decline, citing workload. But minutes later, there was Henrique, already at my desk, leaning over my reports. His cologne was subtle, his voice calm, the way he paid attention to every detail, disarming. Not because he was unpleasant, but because he was too attentive. We stayed in the conference room until nearly midnight, reviewing projections. He cracked quiet jokes that drew involuntary laughter from me. He brought coffee, right when I needed it most. You know you're brilliant, don't you? He asked suddenly, as I scribbled on a spreadsheet. I looked up, startled. Me? No. I just work hard. No, he said, shaking his head. You see things others don't. That's rare. I felt my face flush. The sincerity in his voice caught me off guard. And that's when I noticed it. Through the glass door, he was there, the CEO. The man I hadn't seen up close in weeks, who hadn't said a single word to me since that night at the bar. He stood in the hallway, still, watching in silence. His eyes weren't on Henrique, weren't on the reports, they were on me. And for one suspended second, it felt like my heart was being ripped out of my chest. At the company breakfast, Henrique approached again, casually chatting beside me. He seemed comfortable, too comfortable, like we shared a bond no one else could see. And from across the room, there he was, the tight jaw, the restrained stare, the tension in his posture. He never said a word, but his body said everything. That night, lying awake in bed, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I should have felt flattered by Henrique's attention. He was smart, charming, apparently single, but every word, every smile from him only pulled me deeper into something I couldn't control. And the question kept pounding in my mind, if his marriage is just a performance, then why does he burn with jealousy every time another man gets close to me? The board meeting had already dragged on for nearly 2 hours when the subject finally came up. An international client was requesting top-level representation to finalize a major contract. It was a strategic opportunity, and the trip couldn't wait. One of the directors suggested Henrique should lead it. But before the idea could be confirmed, she stepped in. I believe it would be best if the president handled it, she said, her voice slicing through the room like a verdict. This client needs to feel the strength of our highest leadership. He looked up from the table, surprised. Me? I thought you'd go. She smiled calmly. Not this time. I'll stay and hold down the fort. But you shouldn't go alone. Take someone who knows the technical side inside and out. And before I could even breathe, her eyes landed on me. Camila would be perfect. No one understands the project better than she does. My heart froze. All eyes turned to me, and for a moment, I swore they could hear the pounding inside my chest. As I gathered my papers, Henrique approached, a sly smile tugging at his lips. Looks like someone's about to have a very interesting trip. I couldn't answer. My eyes were locked on him, still across the room, calmly collecting his documents. But the calm was only surface. His movements were too precise, too controlled, and when our eyes finally met, there was something there, something no one else in that room could see. In the parking lot, she caught up with me just as I was getting into my car. "Camilla, I'm glad you're going on this trip. You'll learn a lot." And then, leaning in just slightly closer than necessary, she added, "I trust you." Those words landed like a weight on my chest. Was it trust or a warning? That night I couldn't sleep. I knew this trip would be a turning point. Days alone with him, far from the watchful eyes of his wife and the cold corridors of the office. A space where silence and memory could finally breathe again. And yet it felt like a trap, because now it wasn't just him and me, it was also her invisible gaze wrapping around me, even from miles away. Did she truly trust me? Or was she simply testing how far I'd dare to go? The airport smelled of metal and burnt coffee. I rolled my small suitcase behind me, trying to ignore the knot in my stomach. He was just a few meters ahead, discussing logistics with an assistant. Wearing a light gray suit, tie loosened. He looked human, none of the untouchable presence he usually carried at the office. Every now and then, unintentionally, our eyes met. Briefly, barely. But enough to send heat rushing to my cheeks. On the plane, I took the window seat. He sat beside me, hours of silence filled only by the hum of the engines, and the barely there touch of his arm brushing mine from time to time. I drifted off for a few minutes. When I woke, he was watching me. I looked away quickly, pretending to adjust my seatbelt, but the image of his gaze stayed with me. We arrived exhausted. The driver dropped us at a 5-star hotel. The receptionist handed us our key cards with a rehearsed smile. "Rooms side by side," she said, like it was nothing. Side by side. My heart pounded. Coincidence? Or a little too perfect? That first night, we said nothing. Each went to our own room. I lay on the cold cotton sheets, listening to footsteps in the hall. I knew they were his. For a moment, I wished he would knock, but he didn't. The meetings were long, technical, draining. He was flawless, confident. And once again, I was just the silent shadow at his side, taking notes, organizing folders, presenting data when asked. But there were moments when his hand brushed too close to mine, handing me a report, when he leaned in to whisper something and his breath grazed my ear, moments when I forgot he was married, moments I forgot to breathe. At the executive dinner, he stayed composed, but under the table, I felt his foot tapping, restless. I was trembling too, smiling, trying to appear natural. There was nothing natural about it. We returned to the hotel late. I said a quick goodnight and slipped into my room. But I stayed behind the door, listening, hearing his footsteps stop just outside, as if he was hesitating too. The second day was even heavier. Presentations, negotiations, tension. When we finally left the last meeting, he looked drained. "I need a drink," he said. No room for argument. We went to the hotel bar. He ordered whiskey. I asked for white wine. We talked about small things at first, travel, restaurants, books, and then slowly the walls began to fall. "Do you ever feel like something's missing, Camilla?" he asked, looking at me like he wanted to see beneath my skin. I swallowed hard. Missing? Someone who really sees you, not just your skills. You. His words hovered between us. Dangerous, unspoken confessions dressed as questions. I took a too large sip of wine, trying to drown the fire rising inside me. The elevator rose slowly, as if it understood the weight of what was about to unfold. We stood side by side, silent. 2 glasses of wine had melted the shields built over hours of negotiations. I could hear his breath. He stood still, but the tension sparked in the space between us like electricity. I couldn't take it anymore. I turned to face him. "I don't know why you look at me like that." My voice was low, thick with something between defiance and confession. But I know I'm not the only one who feels it. Before he could answer, my hand slid up to his loosened tie. I tugged slowly, undoing the knot. His eyes burned into mine. He didn't move away. I pressed the emergency stop on the elevator. Silence swallowed us whole. Then I touched my lips to his. It wasn't a timid kiss. It was urgent, starving, weeks of restraint erupting all at once. He resisted for half a heartbeat. Then, the explosion. His hands gripped my waist, hard, pulling me against him. The pressure of his body stole my breath. My hands roamed over his chest, fumbling open the buttons of his shirt, feeling the heat of his skin, the wild hammering of his heart. He spun me suddenly, pinning me against the cold metal wall of the elevator. His mouth found my neck. His hot breath burned against my skin. A soft, involuntary moan escaped my throat. His hand slid up my thigh, lifting the hem of my dress, slow and dangerously deliberate. My whole body trembled. For a moment, I was no longer the employee, no longer the woman guilty of wanting the forbidden. I was simply a woman being devoured by desire. But then, all at once, he froze. His hand stopped. His breath turned ragged. He pressed his forehead to mine, as if fighting himself. "No, Camilla." His voice was broken, hoarse. "I can't." I stared at him, confused, breathless. "Then why make me believe?" My voice cracked. "Why touch me like this if you're going to push me away?" He shut his eyes, each word like a blade on his tongue. He released my waist slowly, his hand sliding down, letting my dress fall back into place. He stepped back, buttoning his shirt, trying to recover some composure. Impossible after what had just happened. "Because I want you as much as you want me, but I can't." Then he pressed the button again. The rest of the ride was suffocating silence, except for the taste of him still on my lips, the heat of his hands still burning my skin. When the doors opened, he stepped out first without looking back, and I was left behind, with the bitter ache of being rejected at the very edge of what had felt inevitable. I barely slept that night. I packed my bag too early, trying to smother the shame still burning in my chest. As I stood in the hallway waiting for the elevator, I heard a male voice from a door left slightly ajar. "Didn't go as we planned. We couldn't get any evidence." My heart stopped. The voice was cold, detached. I stepped back, nearly knocking over my suitcase, but the door closed before I could see who was inside. I stood frozen, the phrase echoing in my head. We couldn't get any evidence. Evidence of what? Of who? On the flight back, we didn't exchange a single word. He stared out the window, jaw tight. I sat lost in thought, that sentence looping in my mind like an unsolvable riddle. If this trip had been purely business, why would someone be talking about evidence? And worse, had I just been part of a game I still couldn't understand? Back at the office, the noise of the hallways, the crowded meetings, the endless reports, it was as if nothing had happened, as if the trip were just a footnote in our professional lives. But for me, every minute was torture. I couldn't look at him without tasting that night, the heat of his body, the brutal way he'd pulled back. And I couldn't look at her without wondering, what does Isadora really know? He seemed even more controlled now. He spoke to me only when necessary. Isadora, on the other hand, was the opposite, always smiling, always kind. She appeared at my desk to chat about trivialities, to ask how I was, to offer coffee. And more she drew me into quick conversations with her and Henrique in the hallways. One day I crossed paths with them in the lobby. She, impeccable as always, laughing at something Henrique had said. He, a step behind, carrying her heavy briefcase, silent, watching. The scene felt inverted. The president looked like an assistant, the vice president like the star, and Enrique like the intimate confidant. I didn't know if I felt jealousy, relief, or despair. At lunch, I sat quietly near some colleagues from other departments. We talked about projects, deadlines, and casually I asked about them. No one thought it odd. If anything, It seemed like everyone had discussed it before. That marriage happened fast, someone said, but everyone expected it. They're the heirs of the two founding families. Another added, matter of fact, more business than love. You know how it is. Merger of power, not hearts. A shiver ran through me. An arranged marriage? Then why the careful facade? The car, the coffee, the gestures of the good husband? I began to watch more closely. He never kissed her in public, not even at internal events, but he draped her coat over her shoulders. No overt intimacy, but always calculated courtesies, as if the marriage were a rehearsed play for an audience, and she never spoke of him directly. We could spend hours together, reviewing reports, talking about my personal life, and his name simply never surfaced. It was as if husband and wife were colleagues who shared a surname, not a bed. As the days passed, the truth began to whisper louder. That marriage wasn't built on love, it was convenience. But if that was true, then why had his rejection hurt so much? And more, what exactly was Henrique's role in all of this? I felt the pieces were right in front of me, but the full picture was still blurred. And somehow, I was in the center of it. It was nearly midnight when I left the office. The corridors were deserted, lights dimmed. The silence of those glass floors echoed beneath my heels, each step weighed down by the confusion that had been chasing me for days. When I reached the parking lot, I saw his car. The driver wasn't there. He was holding the keys himself, unlocking the vehicle. The loneliness of that scene, the CEO stepping into his own car, hit me like an open door. Without thinking, I crossed the empty space and pulled open the passenger door. I got in. He turned, startled, eyes wide at my boldness. "Camilla!" His voice was low, almost a warning. "What are you doing?" I slammed the door shut, my heart pounding. "Enough." My voice was steady, even as my hands trembled. "I can't take this anymore. One moment you look at me like you want to devour me. The next, you act like I don't exist. I want the truth." He didn't answer. He just stared at me, eyes burning, like that night at the bar, like the elevator. Like every ounce of his willpower was straining to hold something back. For a few seconds, only silence wrapped around us. My breath was ragged, anxious. His, too quiet. And then, he couldn't hold back. His hand gripped the back of my neck, pulling me to him. The kiss was brutal, desperate, like weeks of restraint erupting all at once inside that leather-lined car. "I shouldn't," he murmured between kisses. But he didn't stop. My hands were already undoing his shirt, feeling the heat of his skin. He pulled me into his lap, my body molding to his like it had always belonged there. His hands slid up my thighs, lifting my skirt to my waist. The world disappeared. No company, no marriage, no secrets, just us, trapped in that car like the universe had paused to watch us burn. When I felt him inside me, a shiver ran through my entire body. Our eyes locked. And in that instant, we weren't two people making a mistake. We were two survivors finally allowed to breathe. He held me tightly, fingers digging into my skin like he was afraid to lose me. I moved against him with hunger, with fury, with all the desire I'd been denying. Each thrust was a silent scream. "Like that night," I whispered, unable to stop myself. "Do you remember?" He groaned, forehead pressed to mine, eyes closed. "I never forgot." The car seemed to shake with the force of our bodies. This wasn't sweet love. It was need. It was sin. It was life. When we finally collapsed together, still breathless, I stayed in his lap, our skin stuck together with sweat. He wrapped his arms around me like he never wanted to let go, but his eyes held pain. A pain I didn't understand, and suddenly I feared what would come next. The next day was brutal. I tried to focus on spreadsheets, but every thought led back to him. Until my phone buzzed on the desk. "Storage room, now." My heart lurched. I stood quickly, muttering something about missing files. Each step down the hall felt like thunder. When I pushed open the heavy door, he was already there, shirt sleeves rolled, gaze ravenous. "You took too long," he said, before I could even speak. Then he pulled me in, locking the door behind us. No words, just the crash of bodies colliding. He pinned me against the cold metal shelves. The kiss, fierce, almost punishing. I tore open his shirt again, fingers fumbling in the dim light. His hands moved down my body, lifting my skirt, sliding along my thigh until I shuddered. The cramped space, the smell of dust and paper, the risk of discovery, all of it made it wilder. When he thrust inside me, right there against the wall, I bit his shoulder to stifle a moan. He held me tight, both of us trembling, like this was the only way we knew how to exist beyond the rules. I looked into his eyes at the peak, and it was like that first night again, wild, uncontrollable, inevitable. For those minutes there was no company, no wife, no guilt, just us, starved and damned. The guilt hit me hard afterward. What am I doing? I straightened my clothes quickly, trying to calm my breath. He adjusted his tie as if nothing had happened. "Go back first," he said, voice still hoarse. "I'll follow." I left, still shaking, my body raw with adrenaline. But when I reached my desk, I froze. Isadora was sitting in my chair, perfectly composed, legs crossed slowly, like she had all the time in the world. "You took a while, Camila." Her smile was soft, too soft to be real. "I hope you found what you were looking for." Our eyes met, and hers weren't the eyes of the friendly colleague anymore. They were the eyes of someone watching, someone who knew. My heart plummeted. As days went by, a truth began to creep in. That marriage wasn't built on love, it was one of convenience. But if that was the case, then why had his refusal hurt so deeply? And more importantly, what was Henrique's real role in all of this? I sensed the pieces all around, but the full picture was still beyond me, and somehow I was at the center of it. It was close to midnight when I left the office. The corridors were empty, the lights dim. The quiet of the glass floors echoed with each click of my heels, every step weighed by the confusion that had shadowed me for days. In the parking lot, I saw his car. No driver was there. He held the key himself, unlocking the vehicle. The solitude of that image, the president entering his own car, struck me like an opportunity. Without thinking, I crossed the space and tugged open the passenger door. I slipped inside. He turned, eyes wide with surprise at such boldness. "Camila." His voice was low, almost a warning. "What are you doing?" I slammed the door shut, my heart pounding. "Enough." My voice wavered but remained firm. "I can't endure this game anymore. One moment you look at me as though you'd consume me. The next, you act like I don't even exist. I want the truth." He didn't reply. He only stared at me. His eyes were hungry, like that night at the bar, like in the elevator, like every restrained fragment of desire. We stood in silence, my breath loud, desperate. His, too controlled. Then he couldn't hold back. One hand gripped the back of my neck, pulling me into him. The kiss was violent, feral, weeks of restraint exploding in a single moment inside that confined car. "I shouldn't," he murmured, between kisses. But he didn't stop. My fingers tore at his shirt, feeling his bare skin beneath. He lifted me into his lap, my body collapsing into his as if it were inevitability. His hands braced on my thighs, lifting my skirt. The world dissolved. No office walls, no constraints, no secrets. Only him. Only me. Alive together, even if just for a moment. When I felt him move inside me, a tremor raced through me. We locked eyes, and in that instant, we weren't two guilty lovers. We were two souls who had held their breaths far too long. He held me fiercely, fingers digging into me as though terrified I would vanish. I moved with hunger, with blame, with everything I had held in. Each motion was a silent scream. "Like that night," I whispered, voice trembling. "Do you remember?" He groaned, forehead pressed to mine, eyes shut. I never forgot. The car vibrated with the force of us pressing together. This was not gentle love. It was necessity. It was sin. It was life. When we finally collapsed, our breaths ragged, I remained in his lap, our bodies still fused. He held me as though letting go was impossible. But in his eyes burned a pain I couldn't read. And suddenly, fear gripped me. What would come next? The following day was savage. I tried to focus on spreadsheets, but each thought returned to him. Then my phone buzzed above the hum of the office. Warehouse. Now. My heart leaped. I stood hastily, muttering about missing files. Every step through the corridor felt like thunder. When I pushed open the door, he was waiting, shirt sleeves rolled, eyes dark with need. "You're late," he said before I could say anything, and he pulled me in, locking the door behind us. No words, only collision, desperation. Bodies pressing, shadows looming. He crushed me against cold shelves. The kiss, raw, urgent, inexorable. My hands tore at his shirt again. His hands traced my curves, lifting my skirt, sliding over my thighs until I quivered. The cramped space, the scent of dust and paper, the risk of being caught. All of it sharpened the rush. When he entered me there against the wall, I pressed lips to his shoulder to smother the moan. He held me like his life depended on it. We trembled, each thrust a fragile claim to freedom. I looked into his eyes at the height of it, and it was like that first night all over again. Wild, unforgiving, unstoppable. In those moments there was no office, no wife, no regret, only us, ruthless, desperate, alive. Guilt followed like a shadow. What am I doing? I fled, gathering my clothes, gasping for composure. He straightened his tie as if nothing had shifted. "Go ahead." "Leave first," he said, his voice still thick. "I'll come later." I walked away, body shaking, heart ablaze. Then I froze. Isadora sat in my chair, impeccable as always, legs crossed, composed, as though waiting. "You took your time, Camila." Her voice was soft, too controlled. "I hope you found what you were looking for." Our eyes locked. Her gaze was no longer that of a genial colleague. It was the look of someone who saw too much. My heart sank. From that night in the storeroom forward, my daily life became a hell. Not because I regretted it, I didn't, but because every time I crossed paths with Isadora, I felt she could hear my most private secrets. She didn't accuse. She said nothing at first. She didn't distance herself. Worse, she drew nearer. The next day, she entered my office carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Working late last night?" she asked, setting one in front of me. I nearly dropped the papers in my hands. "For yes, I had to organize files." She smiled, like one hearing a child lie. "I can tell you look exhausted, yet different." She paused, eyes scanning me. Alive. In the following weeks, she pulled me into lunches, casual chats, spoke of fashion, travel, music. Never him. But now and then she'd drop phrases that cut me deeper than daggers. "Do you believe in fidelity, Camila? Have you ever fallen for the wrong person but couldn't stop? Sometimes I wonder if true love even exists, or if it's all just agreements. Don't you think?" I smiled awkwardly, offered minimalist responses, yet my heart pounded beneath. Every word she said seemed aimed somewhere invisible. Was it taunting, or did she truly know? One night, we stayed late revising reports. In the silence, she stared at me, then said, "You know, Camila, I like you, I trust you." She stepped closer. "But I don't want to be disappointed." Those words dropped like a verdict. No overt accusation, but the warning was there. She knew, or at least suspected. I left that night with knees that couldn't steady. For the first time, I was unsure which I feared more. Him, who devoured me in secret, or her, who smiled as a friend while sharpening the blade. Each day she crept closer, a graceful shadow, and I could no longer tell if I craved her friendship or feared that at any moment she'd expose it all to ruin me. In the following days, Small details began to emerge. An intern lurking too close to my office. A vice president's assistant appearing in the hallway when I left for coffee. A missed call from an unknown number. When returned, silence. It wasn't paranoia. It was surveillance. Isadora was watching me. I told him during a brief encounter between meetings. "She's watching me," I said quietly, eyes lowered. "Isadora knows." He closed his eyes for a moment, jaw clenched. "Then we must stop," he said, voice firm, cutting. "There's too much at stake, Camilla, more than you realize." It felt like a punch, but he was resolute, and I tried to believe him. In the weeks that followed, we limited contact to strictly professional. Bare smiles in meetings, fleeting eye locks in corridors. Nothing more. I threw myself into work, trying to persuade myself it was over, but a single second alone with him would set my entire body ablaze. And deep down, I knew. It wasn't the end. It was just a pause. On a rainy evening, the doorbell startled me. I opened it to find him standing there, soaked, tie gone, breath ragged. He said nothing. He pushed me inside, closing the door behind him. His kiss came urgent, feral, anger and need tangled in every motion. In no time we were pressed against the wall, my fingers tearing away his wet clothes. He carried me to the sofa and claimed me without pause. This time, no restraint, no calculation. We were raw, driven, devouring each other. "You're mine," he murmured against my lips, his eyes burning. As we lost ourselves together, I realized there was no turning back. Later, lying side by side, his body warm against mine, I broke the silence. "Why this marriage, after all?" My voice shook. "What binds you to her?" He brushed his hand through his hair, exhaustion in his eyes. "It's not a marriage, it's a contract." I froze. "What do you mean?" He took a breath. "Our families signed an agreement when the company nearly failed. My union with Isadora sealed the merger, gave confidence to the market. The facade must remain intact until the final term." My world tilted. "And if one of us is caught in infidelity?" I asked. He looked darkly at me. "The clause is clear. If one of us is caught, that person forfeits all family shares in the company." My ground vanished. This wasn't just a love triangle, it was a chessboard, and every move could cost empires. It was late. The building was empty, corridors lit only by motion lights. I went down to the cafeteria to brew coffee, anything to lift the weight of eyes heavy with secrets. The bitter scent of coffee filled the air when I heard footsteps. Instinctively, I slipped behind a half-open glass door, cup still in hand. Isadora and Henrique passed in the corridor and entered a reserved meeting room. They didn't see me. The door didn't click fully shut. Then I heard them speak. Isadora's voice was calm, controlled as always, but what she said cut like a blade. "I had him followed that night at the bar," she said bluntly, "and it was easier than I expected. He barely knew the girl and was already kissing her outside." My entire body froze. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure they could hear it from where I stood. "So you—" Henrique began, but she cut him off. Of course I knew. The job interview was just formality. I personally requested her hiring. It was the most efficient way to keep the bait close. The coffee nearly slipped from my hand. All color drained from my face. "Bait. Me," she continued, each word crueler than the last. "You needed proof, right? Well, so did I. We just had to be patient." His weakness has always been women, and Camila would be no different. Henrique let out a soft chuckle, almost complicit. "You're ruthless, Isadora." "No," her voice sharpened. "I'm careful, and in the end, the only thing that matters is preserving the contract. If he falls, I inherit the throne." I pressed my head against the cold cafeteria wall, trying to steady my breathing. My body trembled uncontrollably. Every piece finally fell into place. Her lingering glances from the beginning. The exaggerated friendship, the gentle, curated charm. None of it had been real. I was never just an employee. I had been chosen, placed like a trap. And worse, he never knew. Everything we'd lived, everything I felt, had been watched, calculated, since that first kiss. I slipped away in silence, dragging my feet down the dim corridor, feeling like the ground beneath me had vanished. The cup still shook in my hand, so did my heart. In that moment, I finally understood. This wasn't just a love triangle. I was in the middle of a perfectly calculated war, and Isadora had held the cards all along. Now, only one decision remained. Would I run to tell him everything, or stay silent, knowing the next move could be my last on this board? I couldn't sleep that night. Isadora's words, Henrique's laugh, they played on loop, a nightmare without end. By morning, I didn't go to my desk. I went straight to the rooftop outside the executive offices, where I knew he'd be, smoking that solitary cigarette. When he saw me, his face hardened, the same coldness he wore since we'd stopped. But before he could speak, the truth exploded from me. She always knew. He stared at me, tense. What are you talking about? Last night I heard Isadora and Henrique. She hired someone to follow you at the bar that first night. She arranged for me to get this job. I'm not just some employee by chance, I'm bait. She's never trusted you, she's known about me from the start. Silence settled like smoke between us. He crushed the cigarette with trembling fury, eyes burning. That witch. It's more than that, I pressed on, voice cracking. She doesn't just want to catch you in the act, she has a plan, and Henrique is in on it. He started pacing, hands on his head. If Isadora exposes me, I lose the shares, I lose everything. He looked at me, desperation in his eyes. But if it's proven that she's unfaithful, the pieces clicked for both of us at the same time. Then she's the one who loses, I finished. Our eyes met. For the first time, it wasn't just desire, it was an alliance. He stepped closer, his hand gripping mine firmly. Camilla, if we step into this game, there's no going back. Do you understand? I nodded. My heart raced, but it wasn't fear. It was certainty. I've been in it from the moment I met you. He took a deep breath. Then we need evidence. We need to catch her with Henrique. But she's careful, I warned. Almost never leaves a trace. Almost never, he echoed with a dark, crooked smile. But no one's perfect. From that moment on, our conversations became whispers in empty corridors, glances exchanged across crowded meetings, coded messages hidden in reports. He reached out to discreet contacts he could trust. I began watching Isadora even more closely, tracking every move, every exit with Henrique, every suspicious glance. Slowly, the strategy took shape. Follow the two discreetly. Record any meetings outside the company. Gather irrefutable proof that Mrs. Vasconcelos wasn't as perfect as she claimed to be. That night, alone in my apartment, we toasted in silence with 2 glasses of cheap wine. It wasn't a celebration. It was a pact. I knew I was entering a war that could destroy me if I lost, but for the first time I didn't feel like the prey. I was becoming the hunter. Overtime became routine. Me and Isadora, side by side in the project room, piles of documents spread across the table, cups of cold coffee stacking up. But the silence wasn't one of focus. It was a duel. She kept trying to break the tension with sharp questions, always disguised as innocent curiosity. Camilla, you never talk much about your personal life. Is there someone waiting for you at home? My heart sped up. For a second, I almost let the truth slip. But I breathed deeply and looked her straight in the eye. I'm seeing someone, yes. The answer dropped between us like a stone in a still lake. Isadora blinked slowly, her face stiff. It was subtle, but I saw her fingers clench tightly around the pen. That's good for you, she said, forcing a smile. It's always nice not to feel alone. Inside, the poison burned. I'd hit a nerve, but I kept my face calm as if we were just 2 colleagues sharing harmless late-night confidences. The minefield. The days that followed dragged on under tense silence. Every step, every glance, every word was calculated. Everyone seemed to notice. The company halls suddenly had eyes and ears. It was like living on a chessboard. Any wrong move could mean checkmate. He and I barely spoke at work. Only coded messages. Everything's good on my end. She's watching too closely. Hang in there. On a grey morning, I arrived earlier than usual. The parking lot was still nearly empty. That's when I saw it. Isadora, slipping out through the side door, accompanied by Henrique. The two walked toward a black car. He opened the door for her and they got in together. My heart raced. Without thinking, I got into my car and followed them. The chase was long. Unfamiliar streets, red lights barely obeyed. Miles passed until the city faded behind us. Finally, they parked in front of a small cafe, hidden on a secondary road. A modest place, almost forgotten, perfect for secret meetings. I waited a few minutes, watching from afar, and then I saw them, in the corner booth, holding hands. Then the kiss, slow, intimate. A kiss that left no doubts. My fingers trembled as I held the phone. Photo after photo, each click a stab straight into Isadora's heart. Adrenaline surged through me. There it was. Proof. Freedom. Frozen on a screen. I sent the photos to him with a single message. Our freedom is about to be claimed. On the way back, the world felt lighter. I almost smiled, feeling, for the first time, that the scales were finally tipping in our favor. But fate, or perhaps Isadora's invisible hands, had other plans. The rain-slick road was treacherous, a blinding headlight in the rear view. Too bright, too close. I tried to focus, but the car skidded on a curve. The scream of tires on asphalt, the crash against the guardrail. The world spinning. Darkness. The last thing I saw was my phone screen glowing in the passenger seat, photos still open. The evidence was there. But would anyone find it in time? The beeping monitors were the first thing I heard, steady, rhythmic. They anchored me back to reality. I opened my eyes slowly. The white hospital ceiling looked like a blank canvas where fate had chosen to rewrite my life. A dull pain pulsed through my head, manageable. Worse was the void left by the memory of the crash, the headlights, the impact, the darkness. Then I heard the doctor's calm voice. "Don't worry, Camilla. You and the baby are both okay." The word echoed inside me. Baby. Baby. My voice was weak, barely a whisper. Yes. You're a few weeks pregnant. The stress and the accident could have caused complications, but fortunately, you're both stable. My hands trembled beneath the sheets. Pregnant. I was pregnant. With his child. I closed my eyes, silent tears trailing down my temples. A storm swelled inside me. Fear, joy, despair, guilt. What am I going to do? How can I raise a child in the middle of this chaos? Before I could sink deeper into that abyss, the door opened. He was there. The ever-impeccable CEO looked different now. Tie loosened, eyes red from sleepless nights, his face marked by panic and the fragile relief of seeing me awake. He rushed to my side. "Camilla, my God, you're okay." I tried to speak, but the words caught in my throat. All I could do was hold his hand. He leaned in, resting his forehead against mine. For the first time, there was no mask, no CEO, no power, just a broken man, terrified of losing the woman he loved. I thought I'd lost you," he whispered, voice cracking. And when the doctor told me about the baby, his breath caught, like the world itself had stopped. "We can't keep doing this," he said firmly, his deep voice laced with resolve. "We can't keep putting off the inevitable." The inevitable. My voice was fragile, but laced with quiet desperation. "You say that like it's simple. You're married. And now I'm carrying..." He squeezed my hand, cutting me off. "Married only on paper, Camilla. You know that. But this isn't just about us anymore. It's not just about desire or courage. It's about what's coming." His hand moved gently to my still flat belly. Our child. My heart raced. The warmth of his touch felt like a silent vow. That very afternoon, the company was officially notified of my accident. Flowers began arriving. Messages of support from co-workers poured in, but through it all only one man remained by my bedside, tireless, unwavering. He told me what he had decided. "I have the photos, Camilla. Enough proof to break Isadora's contract. But I don't want a scandal. I don't want headlines. I don't want our child growing up surrounded by whispers and accusations." I looked at him, trying to read every line on his face. "So what are you going to do?" "I'm going to make her an offer," he said, his voice like steel. "I'll buy out her shares in the company, end this peacefully. She'll walk away with dignity and I won't expose anything." "You're giving up revenge?" I asked, stunned. He took a deep breath. "I don't need to beat Isadora anymore. I just need to beat the fear of losing you." Days later, still recovering, I heard about the meeting. He had summoned Isadora to a private conference room. He walked in holding a dossier, photos, logs, every detail of her betrayal, meticulously documented. Isadora, poised and elegant as ever, tried to keep her composure. "What's this, darling? Another one of your scare tactics?" He simply slid the photos across the table. Silence fell, heavy, undeniable. Isadora went pale but quickly forced a sarcastic smile. "Photos can be forged, you know that." "These can't," he replied coldly. "But I won't release them. I won't humiliate you publicly, as long as you accept my offer." Isadora crossed her legs, eyeing him like a predator. "And what exactly are you offering?" "Sell your shares, leave the company. Let's end this farce cleanly. You'll get your payout. Your reputation stays intact." The silence stretched between them like a blade. Finally, Isadora rested her chin on her hand and smiled, a poisonous, calculated smile. "You're desperate, aren't you?" she said. "I wonder what would happen if your new little distraction came to light." He cut her off, voice steady and unshakable. "She's not a distraction, she's the only truth I have." That night he walked into my hospital room where I was still recovering. His eyes carried the weight of the world. "She gave me a deadline," he said, sitting beside me. 6 more months of the charade. After that, she's gone. I stared at him, trying to process it. And me, where do I fit into these 6 months? He held my hand too tightly, like he was afraid I'd slip away right then and there. "Outside of it, far from her, far from the company." "What do you mean?" My voice cracked. "I'm taking you off the radar. Medical leave, whatever it takes. You can't be anywhere near her, Camilla. Not with..." He paused, took a deep breath. "Not with the baby." My heart pounded. "You want me to disappear?" "No." His voice was steady, almost pleading. "I want you to survive. I want our child to come into this world in peace. I'll handle the war alone. You need to protect yourself." Tears blurred my vision. Part of me wanted to scream, to fight, to demand to stand beside him through every step. But the other part, the one already carrying the weight of a new life, knew he was right. The first day away from the company was the strangest. No rushing through hallways, no curious glances, just silence. And silence was cruel. It gave space for thought, and every thought was torture. I spent hours on the couch, my laptop open in front of me. Every news site, every business column, every gossip blog seemed to display the same image, him and Isadora side by side smiling like the perfect couple. "They remain strong," the captions read. I closed the screen in anger, but always ended up opening it again. It was like picking at a wound that refused to heal. My belly was still small, but it was there. A quiet reminder that I couldn't just turn my back and forget. He came when he could, always late at night, always silently. The sound of the doorbell was faint, almost imperceptible, but my heart recognized it before I even reached the door. He'd enter tense, shoulders rigid, face burdened. But when he saw me, when his eyes fell on my belly, the mask would drop. He'd sit beside me. Sometimes in silence. Other times he'd talk about the little things, the taste of his morning coffee, a book he found in a bookstore, memories of his youth before his last name became a sentence. He never mentioned her, never talked about the lie. One night, He placed his hand gently on my belly and waited. The baby moved. I saw tears in his eyes. "This is real," he whispered, voice raw. "Everything else, it's just theater." But the theater still hurt. The next day, there he was again, plastered across magazine covers. Couple inspires investor confidence. Isadora and husband shine at charity gala. I stared at those images, remembering the feel of his hand on my belly just the night before. And I wondered how long until even he forgot which part of his life was real. Doubt became my constant shadow. There were nights I cried into my pillow, imagining him truly laughing with her, brushing her hand beneath the dinner table, kissing her away from the cameras. Reason told me no, but the heart was merciless. As the months passed, my belly grew, and with it the sense of vulnerability. I was forced to slow down, to accept help, to admit that I could no longer handle everything on my own, and that hurt. I had always taken pride in being independent, facing every challenge head-on. Now each day I felt more bound to my body, more fragile. But there was tenderness too. The soft kicks the nights I fell asleep with my hands cradling my belly, as if I could already protect that life from all harm. It was the baby who reminded me. I wasn't alone even when it felt like I was. He never failed to come, sometimes just for a few minutes. Sometimes he'd stay until dawn, lying on the couch, watching me sleep. One night he couldn't take it anymore. "Camilla, tell me you still believe in me." His voice was a whisper, but it was full of desperation. I looked at him. He was exhausted. The red in his eyes betrayed the weight he carried. I touched his face. If I didn't believe, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be waiting. He closed his eyes, breathing deeply as if those words were the only thing holding him together. Just a little longer. 6 months. I swear it ends in 6 months. But Isadora always seemed present, even from a distance. Colleagues sent me discreet messages. "She's been asking about you." Sometimes I'd receive anonymous flowers, no card. It was her way of reminding me, "I know you exist, but you don't belong in this game." And I resisted. Resisted for the baby, for him, for myself. The calendar moved forward. Each month marked not just by the growing curve of my belly, but by the nearing of the end. 6 months. 6 months that felt like an eternity. 6 months where he smiled beside Isadora, while secretly coming to hold my hand and feel the baby kick. 6 months living between the fear of losing him and the hope that he would come back whole. That night, when he opened my apartment door, I knew something had changed. It wasn't just exhaustion, it was freedom. He knelt in front of me, placed his hand on my now rounded belly, and said, his voice breaking, "It's over, Camilla." She signed. She's out of the company, out of my life. Tears came before I could say a word. For a moment it felt impossible to believe, but the look in his eyes, steady, relieved, left no room for doubt. Of course it wasn't simple. At the final meeting, Isadora tried. She smiled with that venomous grace, tossed provocations, hinted that I would never measure up to the world he carried on his shoulders. But in front of the signed contract, before the silent victory he had won without publicly exposing her, there was nothing left. Her venom had lost its power. The empire she thought she held in her hands collapsed without a sound. A few weeks later came the moment that changed everything. It was the middle of the night when the first contraction jolted me awake. Panic flooded my body, but before I could give in to fear, he was there. He took me to the hospital, not as a CEO, not as a man of power, but as someone trembling with every second, terrified of losing me. The following hours were a blur of pain and light. Screams, tears, sweat, and then the cry, a new cry, fragile and powerful, filling the room and changing the world in a single second. He was by my side when the baby was placed in my arms. His eyes broke into tears. "He's ours," he whispered, almost voiceless. "Camilla, he's ours." I had never seen him so vulnerable, never felt him so real. In that moment, everything else disappeared. Contracts, revenge, intrigue, There were only the three of us. The days that followed were unlike anything I had ever known. He no longer needed to hide. He came home earlier, clumsily changed diapers, rocked the baby in his arms with a tenderness no one would have ever imagined from a man like him. Sometimes I'd catch myself just watching in silence, and he would smile as if reading my thoughts. I told you it would end, and now nothing will come between us. Months later, I watched from afar as he gave his first press conference alone, as the new leader of the company, with no Isadora by his side. He spoke of the future, of new projects, of fresh starts. And when it ended, instead of heading to the cameras or the crowd, he came straight home, to us. That night he held me on the balcony, the baby sleeping in the room nearby, and whispered, "In the end, I didn't win through power or pride. I won because I found in you something I never had, a home." And I understood. Our story had never really been about betrayal or contracts or powerful families. It had been about surviving the chaos, even when everything said it was impossible. It had been about enduring and in the end choosing love. Camilla and the billionaire CEO. This might sound like the plot of a romance novel, but trust me, stories like this happen more often than you'd think. Appearances, contracts, power games, and hidden love, they exist far beyond fiction. They turned pain into a new beginning. But what about you? Do you believe that in the end, love always wins? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and answer honestly. Would you have made the same choice Camilla did?